Hey, it's Crystal Miller with another Tip Tuesday for you. Today I wanted to talk to you really quick about seller pays, what they are and how to get seller pays on your offer. So oftentimes I get questioned on how to minimize what a buyer has to come to closing with for out-of-pocket money. Lots of times you've scraped together your down payment and then that's pretty well what you got. You don't realize that you also have to pay out-of-pocket closing costs for the loan and getting everything done, and also prepaids. And prepaids are what's used to build your escrow account. So your escrow account is a set aside little bubble of money that pays your taxes and insurance every month. So part of your mortgage payment goes into that account every month and it builds up and then it dumps out to pay taxes and insurance once or twice a year. So you have to pre-build that at closing. That's usually 14 months of insurance and 2 months of taxes. So that's a lot of money. So you have to pre-build that little bubble and pay all the fees to get the loan done, the title work, your lender fees, tax fees, if there's anything like that in your state. So there's lots of things that go into that. So collectively, it's not uncommon to have closing costs and prepaids add up to being $3,000 to $5,000 on a transaction. So one way to keep from having to come up with that extra money plus the down payment is to have your seller pay those fees for you. Now, lots of times that starts to maybe compromise the strength of your offer, and a realtor is going to be probably pretty quick to tell you whether or not that's your case, depending on how competitively people are fighting for the particular property you're interested in. But what I like to kind of tell people to visualize how to do this, and a well-versed realtor is going to tell you the exact same thing and probably tell you better than what I'm about to. But the way I think of it is that if, let's say for round numbers, you find a house that's on the market for $110,000 and you really think it's worth $100, like you would give $100 for it, but that's your comfort zone for what it's worth. But you need $4,000 to close the loan and get your escrow account built up. So you still need another $4,000. So what I would advise someone to do is to offer $104,000 and then ask for the seller to pay $4,000 of your closing costs and prepaids. And what that does is now you've really still given what you feel like the home is worth, but you gave them the extra money to turn around and pay those fees for you. And that's kind of the loophole to get those fees financed into your mortgage without having to come up with that cash money at closing. Now there's limits on how much your sellers are allowed to contribute too, depending on which loan program you're using. And a realtor, again, can help advise you on this, and I would obviously help as well. But if you're going with a conventional loan to buy a home, the seller cannot pay more than 3% of the purchase price towards your closing costs and prepaids. If you're using VA, they cannot pay more than 4% plus some other non-allowable fees, and that's a whole nother video. But then there's also USDA or RD, and they let a seller pay up to 6% of the closing costs, of the purchase price towards closing costs and prepaids, and same with FHA. They also allow up to 6%. And usually it's not all that common that the full 6% is utilized, but it is nice to have that room in case there's something about the property and the seller is willing to contribute the extra for your fees. So I hope that this is helpful and clarifies seller costs, because sometimes it is a little bit confusing and not everybody's well versed in it, but it's a great thing to be aware of as far as an option when you're a little bit tight on your money to close and the funds out of pocket and just how much you want to deplete your savings. So hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you next week. For more helpful information, you can find us at millermortgagepro.com.